The primer that I'm using is the Fenty Beauty Soft Matte. No, I do put concealer on my nose on my nose. Hey guys! It is the last day of the year, and you probably won't see this until the new year. I am excited to get this year over with. It's been a strange one for everyone, and I'm sure everybody is excited to see what is in store for 2021. If you saw my last video, I did a video on a bunch of makeup that I bought, and it was a huge holiday haul. All of this stuff that I got was either on sale or I used a coupon. I haven't tried any of the products out, so I'm really excited to try them out, and I promised you would see them in future videos. So today I'm going to do a foundation review. If you remember, it was the Too Faced Born This Way Matte Foundation. I've said in previous videos I am definitely a matte foundation kind of girl. I do not like my skin looking oily or shiny, and I definitely like a full coverage foundation, and I think this foundation is a medium to full coverage. We're going to see how this works, but I'm really excited to try it because it does say it is oil-free, oil controlling, waterproof, and transfer resistant, and it promises 24 hours, so I can't ever see a time that I will wear makeup for 24 hours straight, but I'm excited to see if it will just hold up for an entire normal day for me. And I figured that today was the perfect day because it's New Year's Eve, so I'm probably going to be wearing it a lot longer than I normally would wear makeup. I'm going to do everything like I normally do. I don't like to introduce too many new things when I'm testing out a new foundation. So I'm going to use these two products. I've already prepped my face. I did the same thing I always do, applied a light moisturizer with SPF, and I'm going to prime my face with the usual primer and spot conceal a little bit with the IL MAKIAGE concealer, and then I'm going to go in with the foundation and do all of my makeup as usual. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The primer that I'm using is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Primer. I've been using that pretty much every day, and I really like the way that my makeup turns out when I use it. I feel like it makes my makeup look pretty flawless, so I've been using that, and it smells really good, and it just reminds me of like a moisturizer because that's the consistency, it's like a lotion. So I've been using that, and so I'm using that today. And since I haven't tried either the foundation or the concealer out, I don't know if they're a good color match, so I'm crossing my fingers that they are, but we're just gonna go with it, and if it's not, I'm not going anywhere today. I don't imagine too many people are because we're still kind of in this weird transitional period where we still can't live normal life. So I'm gonna go ahead and spot conceal now. This is pretty light. Yeah, that's really light. And so far I'm really hating this concealer. It's not even concealing anything. I don't even know what it's doing. I mean, for one, it's too light, which is not a huge deal because I'm just going to cover it up with foundation, but it's literally not concealing anything. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spot conceal with a concealer that I normally use, and it is the DermaBlend Professional Cover Care Concealer. And I know that'll do a good job concealing, so I'm just going to use that. I'm still going to try and use the IL MAKIAGE concealer under my eyes, but I have a feeling this is not going to go well. So I might be using my normal concealers, and that's okay with me. I was just trying to give another product a shot, and surprisingly, IL MAKIAGE foundation is really full coverage. I'm kind of surprised that their concealer is very lackluster. It had great reviews too, but I don't know if they're honest reviews. I don't know if it's one of those things where the company has provided free product to a lot of people to amp up their reviews. I hope that's not the case, but I honestly feel like for a concealer that has had such great reviews, and I'm talking 5-star reviews, it confuses me why. Just to explain, I do put concealer on my nose first because for whatever reason, foundation typically has a really difficult time staying on my skin. Like, it is normally what rubs off the quickest, or sometimes when I'm applying the foundation to begin with, it doesn't even stick to my skin. So normally if I put a concealer down, it does a better job at sticking to my skin. So now that I have the concealer on, I'm going to go ahead and apply the foundation. And in the bottle, it looks like it could be a little bit dark in my opinion, but we're going to see how this works. And like I said, I'm not going to go anywhere, so it really doesn't matter to me if it, if it's too dark, but we're just going to see how it works. On first impression, I'm going to go ahead and say it is definitely a shade too dark, or a shade or two, which confuses me because this one is for fair complexions with pink undertones, and to me, this is definitely looking like a light medium or a light with neutral undertones. I have no idea what's going on here, but this is definitely not my correct shade at all. But I will say that the actual feel of the foundation, it feels really light. It doesn't feel like, with normal full coverage foundations, sometimes it feels like you're literally applying paint to your face. And this does not feel like that at all. And what I'm noticing too, right off the bat, one of the things that drives me insane with foundations is when it settles in my fine lines and my wrinkles, because I do have aging skin. I'm 34 years old, so it is no secret that naturally my skin is not in its, prime anymore. But this foundation so far doesn't seem to be settling in any of my lines, which makes me happy because I think it has great potential to be a really good foundation on my skin. This foundation is definitely not the right shade. I am hoping that when I put the concealer on and setting powder, it will kind of help lighten that up a little bit. At this point, I think I'm definitely going to have to get another shade. As I'm applying, it is not settling in my lines at all. And it feels really light, and I really like the feel of this foundation. Another thing is, a lot of times with matte foundations, sometimes they can dry really quickly when you're applying them, and it makes it hard to even out your application, but this one is not drying quickly at all, which I prefer. Now I'm going to go in with the concealer, and I am going to try this IL MAKIAGE concealer, but if it does not work out, I'm just going to use normal concealer that I always use. So this concealer is supposed to be fair with pink undertones. There's no way in hell this is pink undertones. This definitely looks like it's pulling a lot of yellow. Yeah, this is not going to work. I think I'm going to go ahead and just use normal concealer that I always use because this is not going to look right at all. No. Thought maybe I could get away with it because it would brighten up that area a little, but no. So I'm just going to use the ColourPop No Filter concealer. Those are definitely pink undertones in that. What I used from IL MAKIAGE, not pink undertones. And even as I'm like scrunching up my face, the foundation still isn't settling in my lines on my forehead, which is where I have the most problems. So now I'm going to set my face, and I'm hoping that it will lighten up the shade of foundation just a little bit. So far, I really like the feel of this foundation. It feels really light. It doesn't feel like I really have much of anything on my face. It doesn't look cakey. Another true test for me will be how it does with other products that I use, how the application of those other products play with this foundation, and if they go on smoothly. Then of course how it holds up throughout the day. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply my bronzer and my blush and see how the application of those things do on this foundation. So far, everything went really well on top of the foundation. Everything went on smoothly and nothing went on patchy. None of the products that I used went on patchy. Again, no settling in my lines. I really like that. There's no settling around my smile lines, which is huge because that's where I have a lot of settling, especially on this side, and no settling on my forehead, which is amazing. I really like the feel of the foundation. I'm disappointed that the shade isn't right. I feel like I'm going to need to go back and see exactly what their shade ranges are, because I swear this was like a fair with pink undertones, and normally I'm like a fair light with pink undertones. I thought when I purchased it I was going to get something too light, so I'm gonna go back and research what exactly I bought. I absolutely hate the IL Makiage concealer. It wouldn't even matter to me if the shade was right. It just is not a good coverage concealer. So their shade ranges are seriously off. Their undertones are seriously off, because this was definitely not pink undertones. This was definitely yellow. The one thing I can say about that concealer is it did not crease under my eyes. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to do my eyebrows, my eyelashes, and put some lipstick on, and then I will be back to give you my initial review and first thoughts on this foundation. I am back and I have finished the rest of my makeup. I did my eyebrows, put some mascara on, and put some lipstick on. And this is actually a new lipstick that I got from Melt Cosmetics. It is in the shade Frisky. It is the Ultra Matte lipstick and I love it. This shade is just really pretty. What I will say about the foundation is so far I love it. I think it's more of a soft matte. It is not that super matte finish, which doesn't bother me so far as long as it doesn't start getting oily. The rest of the products that I use every day, the bronzer, the blush, even the eye pencils, glided on and went on very smoothly. It didn't go on patchy, especially the eyebrow pencils. It just really glided on nicely over top of the foundation. I like that the foundation has not settled in any of my fine lines. That is a huge plus for me. I am disappointed that the foundation is not an exact shade match for me. It actually doesn't look too bad. You can notice a little bit of a difference on my neck, but after all of the rest of the makeup was applied, it really doesn't look too bad. One thing that I have to say is I'm having really bad allergies right now, and throughout application of my makeup, I've blown my nose a few times, and normally I can already start to notice that around my nose, my makeup has come off. With this foundation, I have not noticed that. In fact, my makeup has not budged a bit. So their claim of being transfer resistant so far is true. So no oxidation, I don't look oily or shiny yet, and the foundation has not accentuated any of my fine lines or wrinkles. Those are all pluses. The big test will be to see how it wears throughout the day. Another thing I will have to say is it is pretty full coverage. This foundation did cover a lot of my blemishes. It covered the redness that I have on my skin and the discoloration, and I think the actual finish of the foundation is really flawless and smooth, and I really like it so far. So I'm excited to see how it wears throughout the day, and I'm excited to let you know the results of that wear test. I will be back later to give you a final review and my final thoughts on this foundation, and I'll see you later. So I am back, and it has been a long day of wear for this foundation. And I know I didn't do a timestamp this morning, but I did wear it for 10 hours, and I've done a lot while I've had this makeup on. I've cooked burgers, I did go run an errand, and I wore a mask. So this has had some mask wear, and I was doing stuff around the house. My thoughts so far on this foundation: I did get oily, and I did have to blot. I did get oily in the typical areas that I do. I kind of saw it coming when I finished putting on the foundation. It wasn't that really matte set that I usually prefer. It was more of a soft matte. I will say though, as far as any settling in my fine lines, and usually I get settling in my forehead, my smile lines, and around my eyes, I really haven't noticed any settling with this foundation, which has made me super happy. What I have noticed is that it has rubbed off a little on my chin and right here for some reason. I think a lot of that has to do with the kind of mask that I wore today. Normally I don't wear something that is like super hugging on my face, and this one really hugged my face, and I think that it rubbed off right here, and it was rubbing on my chin. It does say transfer resistant. I would have to say that that may not be completely true, since it did rub off a little bit on my mask. What I will say though, that is normally when I blot throughout the day with any other foundation that is not transfer proof or transfer resistant, I notice that on my blotting paper, or if I blot with a tissue, that a little bit of the foundation will come off each time I blot my skin, and this time it didn't. Like, I would blot at my face and it was just the oils, it was none of the foundation. I think that its claim to be transfer resistant is a lot better than most foundations, I will say that. I'm an oily girl. It did not keep me matte all day. Maybe I'll try it with a different primer, or maybe I'll try it without a primer. It could have something to do with the primer as well. So far, I really do like the foundation. I think it feels good on my skin all day. It doesn't feel heavy, and it doesn't feel cakey. And one of my favorite parts about it is that it didn't settle on any of my fine lines, which is really important to me. Settling in my fine lines and wearing off on my nose are like my two bugaboos.
Those are my two bugaboos.
I also have to note that, like I said earlier, I have been having allergies. I always get allergies this time of year, and so I was blowing my nose a lot today, and I didn't have any makeup really rub off around my nose at all, which is usually the first place for it to rub off. I will say that I'm pleasantly surprised. Even my husband was like, yeah, it did a lot better with this foundation. So I don't know as far as waterproof, because I didn't go jump in any pools today or stand in the rain. As far as oil controlling, I don't think that it controlled any oil on my face. I think I've had foundations do a better job at keeping me less oily throughout the day, but it wasn't so much oil that my makeup felt like it was sliding off my face, which does happen a lot with other foundations. So far, I really like this foundation. I really want to try it with other concealers. I really want to try it with different setting powder and see if that makes a difference. The IL MAKIAGE concealer, however, I am still on the fence about that. I did not agree that the shade or the undertone was as they advertised. I don't know how much use I'm going to be able to get out of it. One thing that I will say about that concealer though is that it did not crease at all under my eyes. I know I did use a mixture of the IL MAKIAGE concealer and a little bit of the ColourPop No Filter concealer, but I think I would have noticed creasing either way. So far, I like the foundation. I'm on the fence about the concealer. I'm going to keep using both. I'm going to see if there's a way I can kind of lighten up the foundation a little bit, or I might just go get another shade. It is not an exact match for me, but it wasn't enough of a shade difference that was strikingly obvious. As far as first impressions go, I am going to give the Too Faced Born This Way Matte Foundation a 2 thumbs up. What I like is that you can build it up, and what I forgot to mention earlier was that I only use like 3 very small pumps, and it covered the face really well. So I would say it leans more on the side of full coverage than medium coverage, because I didn't have to apply a lot to have it cover all of my discoloration. The IL MAKIAGE concealer, I think, is a hard pass for me. I don't think that even if I were to get another shade in this concealer that I would like it, because the consistency, it was very thin. It wasn't what I expect out of concealer. When I look for a concealer, sorry to other concealers, but I compare everything to Tarte Shape Tape. I enjoyed doing this foundation test, and this is the last video of this year, and you probably won't see it until the beginning days of the new year, but I hope you guys have a wonderful new year and everybody stay safe, and hopefully better things will come to everybody this coming year. I know we all need it. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate your time and your support, and if you ever have any suggestions for any makeup looks you want to see or any makeup you want me to try, just leave me a comment down below. And there's fireworks going on outside. Leave me a comment down below and I'd love to hear your suggestions. I still have a lot of new makeup products that I want to try and share with you all. So I will see you in my next video in this coming year, and I hope you guys have a great beginning of the year. Bye.